Hi there. Well, I'm standing on a spot where some 60 years ago, give or take, there used to be a silo here. Not one of those vertical silos. This was a horizontal silo. Two parallel walls that ran back 50, 75 feet into which the silage was piled. We'd been shipping cream back in those days, and that was a lot of work because we had to put up hay to maintain the cows over winter. You know what that's like, eh? And it was thought silage might be a better way to go, so my grandfather and my father, who were operating the farm at that time, set about in this new endeavor. Now, my mother would be out on the tractor operating the machine that masticated the hay and threw it into the back of two old Ford trucks. One was a flathead V8, and the other was an even older Model A truck. Neither were dump trucks, so my father and grandfather built a sling affair to put on the floor of the truck into which the silage was piled. And when the truck was brought in here, it was my job, and I was about 10 at that time, to back an old Oliver cat up to the truck, hitch up the sling, and pull it off the truck. And then once that was done, I'd pack the silage down with the cat. Well, we did a few test runs just to see how the system was going to work. And after the second run, my father and grandfather stopped what they were doing and put their heads together, and it was obvious to me there was some sort of problem going on. Well, I stopped what I was doing and went over to have a listen. And it turns out the gist of the problem was that, well, when you start pulling on something, there's a certain amount of resistance. Not everything wants to come along at once, and so some of the silage would fall off the back onto the floor of the truck. And the second problem was, once you got the sling off the truck, you had all the silage sitting on top of it, and it became a real problem to get it out. Well, once I had the gist of the problem in my mind, I stopped, thought about it for a bit. And it seemed to me, well, if you extended that sling a bit and threw it over the cab of the truck, and so that once the truck was full of silage, you'd throw the sling over the top of that pile and hook up to the top of the sling. So in effect, what you were doing is rolling the silage off the truck instead of trying to slide it off. Well, bingo! She worked like a charm. And what worked like a charm, of course, was my imagination. Because that's what I'd done. I imagined the possibilities of how we might solve that problem and came up with a very viable working solution. And the other thing is, I just use my memory right now to tell you of that incident. Very powerful tools, the imagination and the memory of the human being, eh? It's what I use in my life to make sense of the world, especially my imagination. I see connections between things, and I use that imagination, my sense of connections, to build my sense of reality, my sense of what's going on in the world. And memory, as I say, very powerful. If I think about it for a moment, I can still hear my mother's voice in my head, even though she's been gone for a couple decades now. Amazing. And then you have the collective imagination and the collective memory of a people. This is an even more powerful force, possibly the most powerful force on this planet. And it seems to me that the world is the way it is because that's the way we, us human beings, have built it. I mean, we are the dominant species, are we not? Everything that happens around here seems to fall under our control. Well, let's cut to the chase here because we don't have a lot of time together. I got to tell you straight out, I think we're living in an age of insanity. We're, we're crazy, batshit crazy. Crazy as loons. We got this global warming going on right now. Everybody's cooking, eh? We knew it was coming a couple hundred years ago, but it took us up to the last 25 years to start to grapple with it, and a bit, well, just maybe, possibly, we did this and need to hold ourselves accountable. But we won't hold ourselves accountable. We just say it's a crisis and we got to do something. It's the same sort of thinking that went on when we had that cod fishery collapse, eh? Nobody would admit that it was going to end. They said it was impossible to outfish all the cod. Not till they were gone did we have to face that reality. Well, here's an even deeper, more startling fact that it troubles me daily. That every child that comes into this world is born with a body that contains synthetic toxins. Every child that comes into this world is born with a body that contains synthetic toxins. Doesn't matter where that child is born, up in the high Arctic, Sahara Desert, the highest mountain, deepest valley, don't matter. Because everything is being saturated with these toxins that we're pumping out. And as a farmer, and you might have guessed I'm a farmer, eh? Have a look around here. This is my home. It's been my home all my life, where I grew up. Us farmers have been pumping chemicals into your environment for, well, the last 50 years or so, eh? Then you got all industrial pollutants that are going on. Well, I can tell you as a personal story that the only reason I use toxins is to make money. I don't do that anymore. Oh, some 20 years back, I was using those toxins. That's how my imagination was working. I tended to believe the salesman that said, well, yes, there is some poison involved, but it's so diluted. There's so little of it, it's not going to be a problem. Besides, you're going to make money. That's the real point of the whole exercise, is to make money. So I was doing it, and I rationalized that what I was doing was a good thing because, well, I was keeping the farm going. Well, as I say, about 20 years ago, I loaded up some chemicals and was set off for the field with it. And as I was coming up on the field, I'd been thinking about this fact that it was actually poison I was spraying on the field. And as I came up to the field, I admitted it to myself, and I declared, well, here comes Dr. Death. Whew. The little bubble of illusion I'd been living in just blew up right in my face. I couldn't deny it. It's what I was doing. And at that very moment, I became an organic farmer. It's what they call an epiphany moment, eh? And you're faced with the reality of a deeper truth. Well, as I said, I think we're living in an age of insanity. And I got to ask myself, well, why are we so driven to the point where we will not admit what it is we are doing? Well, here's a hint. Last year, this COVID thing struck up, eh? And the Canadian government started pumping out billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. Someone asked the outgoing governor of the Bank of Canada, they asked, where's all this money coming from? You know what he said? Well, let's start off with what he didn't say. He didn't say we're going to tax the rich and redistribute the wealth and share it with all Canadians, share the wealth equitably. No, we're not going down that road. Heavens no. What he said is we get this money out of thin air. Thin air. That means to me that we get it from our imagination. We believe it's there. They enter those numbers into a computer someplace and bingo, bango, there's your money. It's only there because we all believe it's there. Now, every time I leave this farm, I carry a piece of plastic around with me. That piece of plastic's got on it my name embossed, along with some numbers, and a secret number code on the back of it. Protect me into the future, eh? Oh, I feel so comfortable about that one. But that piece of plastic is just a representation. What it represents is money. I know what it says to anyone that I meet and hand it to, that says to them, well, this man here will have money in the future. He's a good bet. Sell him whatever he wants, because he's going to pay in the future. Or to turn it around another way, I'm robbing from the future to have what I have today, because somebody down the road's going to have to pay for this. And you know who lives down the road, eh? Our children. Well, it turns out I'm a seed farmer. I grow seeds. And I got to wonder about this new technology we're coming up with, eh? Genetically modified organisms, CRISPR, gene editing. This idea that money has the right to own seeds. And let's not mince words here. That is what it's all about, is money's right to own seeds. We're at a point where money now owns the future. That's what all our credit cards and all our debts and all this wild living we're living is all about. It's money's right to own the future. Well, that's not good enough for money. Money wants the right to own seeds itself. It wants the right to own the destiny of the planet. Ain't that something, eh? Our imagination creates a product that is now controlling us. We don't control money anymore. It's leading us by the nose down a dark and dangerous path. Well, when I look at a seed, I think to myself, that seed is connected to the beginnings of everything. It knows something about everything. It has to. Because it's a seed that knows how to germinate, knows how to grow a plant, to grow a flower, that grows another seed that can go dormant and wait for that moment to come back into life and absorb the energy of the time it's living in, and go back into a seed and redo it again and again and again. Amazing. And what is this beginning of time? Well, we're told it was the Big Bang, the big kablooey. Well, I'm thinking to myself, we got this amazing imagination. Can't we do a little better than that? How about something like a sustaining harmonic resonance? Doesn't that have a certain ring to it? Sustaining harmonic resonance. The idea that, well, instead of a big bang, let's say it was a big bell and somebody rang it. Call him God, her God. Doesn't matter. It's still ringing today. All this life you see around me, that life understands that there is an energy around us. There is an ebb and flow, the rhythmic, the harmony, the balancing of energies is all around us. But we refuse to accept it. We live in this illusionary world where we believe, well, I'm talking to you. No, I'm not. I'm talking to a machine. I'm not here. You're not there. Even though I know you're in there somewhere. None of this is real, yet it is. We're creating more conflict in our lives than we know how to deal with, and we're losing our memory. What do I need a memory for when I got this machine to remember everything for me? Wonderful. No, I believe there is such a thing as a sustaining harmonic resonance and that we're part of it. And we can do a heck of a lot better because I believe in peace and beauty and love. And I believe there's a better way of doing things. But we got to start to learn how to exercise our imagination again. We got to learn how to look into the eyes of our children and see the magic that is in there. We're done for. Well, I guess my time with you is about done. I want to just thank you for joining in. I want to leave you with a thought, which is art captures the eternal in the everyday. And it is the eternal that feeds our soul. So there you go.